Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Board of Trustees public session on January 14th, 2021, 6 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting into order. And per usual, we'll begin the meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So next on our agenda is the public comment portion. If anyone would like to add a public comment, please raise your hand and we'll let you into the meeting.
No hands up yet.
Okay, we can give it another 10 seconds.
Mhm.
We do not want to exclude anyone from public comment.
So I'll repeat in case you haven't heard. The mayor just asked of the attendees, if you have a public comment, please raise your hand and we will call upon you.
Okay.
Okay.
Does not look like there's any public comment. So we can move forward with our employee of the month. Our employee of the month this month is Jackie Allen. She's a member of our building department, and her title is the secretary to the board, as well as assistant to the senior building inspector. And Jackie was hired on August 26, 2013. We could all say that Jackie has been a phenomenal employee and a phenomenal member of our village team. She is critical for the success of our building department, which is one of our profit drivers and one of our most important village departments. And without Jackie, we would not have a building department. So we really all owe her a debt of gratitude and wanted to thank her. And she well deserves this recognition of Employee of the Month. So would like to read a quick letter that Chris Talbot, her supervisor, who's the senior building inspector, put forth. He says, "It is my pleasure to recommend Jackie Allen for Employee of the Month. Jackie was hired in August of 2013 and has been an integral part of the building department since her hire. When Diane Greger retired this past October, Jackie has been managing two positions. She arrives promptly to work every day, and with the overwhelming number of projects arriving daily, she has maintained her focus, works hard, is prepared and organized, and most importantly, she greets everyone that walks through our office door with the utmost respect and always accompanied with a smile. On top of her job with the village, she also balances an active family life with her husband, Alex, and their two children. Thank you and congratulations, Jackie Allen." And that is from Chris Talbot. So thank you, Jackie, on behalf of our entire Board of Trustees. That's right. Next, we have a board presentation from Tom Edmonds from our Southampton History Museum.
Mayor, I received word today that Tom was not going to be able to make it, or he and Sean Deneni is going to be making the presentation instead. And I believe Kat can make him a panelist at this point in time so he can present.
All right, Sean, come on down.
Okay, Sean, can you unmute, please?
Should I hit start video?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Only if you'd like to be on video.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and also the Board of Trustees and Charlene for letting us present these plans for upgrading and revitalizing the outside grounds of the Rogers Mansion. My name is Sean Deneny. I'm a current trustee of the museum. I'm also chair of the Rogers Mansion Site Planning Committee. Most of you are aware or have seen the preliminary grounds presented last year, and our intent is to make a financial investment in the historic village landmark. We're part of a cultural alley. We bookend this alley on one side, the arts and cultural center on the other, and in between you've got the Arts Center where Tom Dunn is, as well as the new facility, which I believe is an art gallery from Peter Marino. His investment is, and I'm guessing at the expense, it's probably over $2 million with the repointing he's doing on the outside, the windows and everything else. So this critical alley here is important for tourism. And if you were to pass by our museum and look at the museum, I think you'd agree for the most part, our curbside appeal is a little bit lacking and has needed something for quite some time. Please note that we're not doing anything with the structure. This is strictly landscaping. So the building will not be touched whatsoever. One of the things that is important is that half of the visitors that we log are from outside the Southampton Township. That's kind of important because that's called tourism. We need to encourage those people, not as well as our local community, to use our facilities. But anytime somebody comes from the out time, they're bringing family, it's the Halloween, or one of the many events we have throughout the year. We want to continue with that, but the reason for them to come back is you have something new, something refreshed, something enhanced, and something when you look at it from the curbside makes you want to be invited in there. And I believe we can do that with this project. Today, I dropped off some plans with the building department. All of these are emailable. I gave the large blueprint, which I guess is, I don't know, 3 feet by 2 feet, the expanded version. And I have four separate documents. Charlene has those as well. So those are emailable to each of you to see exactly what we're doing. We're compliant with the work being done on the village property. I was involved with the town securing a grant from the New York State Department of Agriculture for $500,000. I started writing the grant even though there was no money, and Cuomo one day said, we'll grant $5 million. Well, we maxed out and got the 500,000. One of the things that was important, and Brian and I spoke, I think last December, I was concerned about Wick's laws, prevailing wages, bidding. All of these things don't affect us correct me if I'm wrong, we're under 1.5 million, which is the threshold for this. And we're also a 501c3 private organization. So none of these things affect us. That was important to me to make sure there's no bumps in the road. The other thing too is that's important. We will be compliant with everything the village needs as a village requirement, but also as a historic requirement. And I've also been involved with St. John's restoration. I was a member of the trustees at that time, and we had to revamp where Father Patrick is and the rectory. So all the things that are necessary, believe me, our investment is going to be relative to making sure we're compliant and building something that's meant to last. This is not like we're looking for an expensive way to skirt some issues. We want to make an investment that's going to last there for a while. We also are going to be compliant with ADA as well, the dark skies, which I heard that comment the other day. I thought that was kind of cool. So basically no glare. All the lighting that we have will be relative to being in the village and around residential areas. The important thing is the project will be entirely privately funded. The Gardner Grant each year grants X amount of dollars. These dollars come up once, sometimes twice a year, from what I understand, but who knows what's happening this year. There's a March 1st deadline. A lot of things have to be done way in advance of that with proposals and construction quotes and all that kind of good stuff. We're looking at 200,000. If we can get slightly more, we will, and we will match that grant. So we're matching dollar for dollar. We intend to not necessarily take this out of our endowment, but we'd like to secure these funds from the community, and we believe we have a very good shot at that. Last year, I'd like to thank Didi Gottheld, who was very helpful in terms of working with us on many fundraising activities, former museum president Nancy McGann and former village trustee. She was extremely helpful in coming up with a new event that raised money beyond our expectations. So we're constantly looking at different ways to replace what we used to have. We didn't have the Halsey Gala last year, and there's a lot of other public events that, as well as other organizations, we're not able to have. But being a privately funded operation, I think that we have the ability to garner funds from the community. And we also thank the village too for the in-kind contributions that are done to the property every year. I'm not familiar with all of the specifics Tom is, Tom just came on. But the lawn mowing and certain other things that are required on a monthly basis, an annual basis. I think that's about all I have to say. There's really not a lot of structural activity. Most of it's plantings, replacement or reinforcement of existing framework around the property, giving us more privacy. The one thing we are doing is having a pergola, which I reviewed today with Joe. A pergola is nothing more than something, it's not a stationary thing. It's something that's like a kit that you'd put up or you can construct, but it's adjacent to the St. Ambrose wall. And adjacent to that would also be a more of a patio setting where you can sit down and dine. It'll be helpful for us to raise monies through weddings. My daughter was married there 2 years ago. It was an incredible setting. The moon came up on a Sunday evening about 7 o'clock, whatever time it was. And we did it with the tent out front. Now we have more options by putting a pergola there and having another seating area. So that's very important. Other than that, we're only moving 2 small structures, a very short distance on the property. Beyond that, the rest is really what's the word for it? Hardscape materials. So the walkways are going to be more representative of people that can walk on it. We have bricks now that if you had anything other than flats or sneakers, you'd have trouble walking on. We're also creating a town square, which is to the right and behind the Sayer barn, which is more of a flat area. And the elevation from what we've seen so far is not an issue. It's very minimal in terms of what we have to do. We've thought this out carefully. We started this committee last, I guess it was May. We've had numerous meetings. Joe, you sat in a few in the preliminary stages, but now we actually have the final plan, and we're looking for a support and resolution from the mayor and the village trustees to go ahead and make this part of an exciting plan for next year. On a different note, from a marketing perspective, I've also talked to Tom Dunn in the past. I've talked to Crystal. I have not talked to anybody from Peter Marino's operation. I would like to think the 4 of us could advertise, not just within our community, but from the folks we're getting from outside the township. That will bring in people, because what the investment they're making, Marino's operation, what we will do, will have a very attractive cultural alley between the concerts in the summer, the theater we do, the art, the lecture series we do in conjunction with the library. There's a lot of things we can promote. And I use Newport as an example. They have an incredible winter activity. They have all these things going on, and they're well supported. Part of us is marketing ourselves outside of our space. This is a personal opinion. This is not the museum's board opinion, but the dialogue I've had so far, it's a good idea, and it's very cost effective because you're pooling your monies. So I ask you for your support and the possibility of a resolution this evening to proceed.
Can I add something? I'm Tom Edmonds. I'm the director of the Southampton History Museum. And I just want to mention that since March, when COVID hit us, we made a concerted effort to do outdoor programming using all COVID restrictions and regulations. And we had a great Halloween event where people were coming in, measured, their temperatures were taken, they had masks on. I was at the gate with Brian McNamara hiding in the parking lot. I saw him. He was watching me, and I was ready to be arrested. We were doing all the right things, but the need now for outdoor programming is vital to us. And all of our outdoor programs are free. We do not charge. Yes, we have fundraisers to help pay for them, but all of our outdoor activities so far have been free. We had a great summer with children. Most of you know Kathy Bishop, who created the Village Youth Task Force. We had African dance. We had beach blanket readings. We had babies. We had mothers, and it was all at no charge, thanks to Kathy Bishop. So our landscape really needs help. It's dangerous. It's not really good. Joe knows from trying to come onto the property, how risky it is going up that gravel driveway and our undulated lawn. So there's a great need for this. I'll stop now.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any comments from the board?
I just want to say, Mayor, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Tom, for your comments. And I haven't been a part of the process over the years, over the last few months. I want to thank you and Tish and the whole board for all the work and all the committee, Rob Coburn, Bob Beck, Nancy McGann, and all the hard work that you guys have done. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to the result and look forward to being part of the process.
Thank you, Joe. If there is no one else, Tom and Sean, thank you very much. Thank you for your work you do for the village community. We're looking forward to the resolution later in our resolution section on our agenda.
Mayor,
And
Gary
yes,
Gillespie has his hand up. Do you want to hear from him? I'm sure you do.
Sure, send Gary in.
Yep, he's coming in. Hi, Gary. You have to unmute though. Perfect.
Am I in now?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I just had two questions about the cafe area, and you may only be at concept stage, but the cafe area, have you cited your septic yet to know if Department of Health, if you have room to do everything? And is the future whaleboat exhibit the one that's actually in the cafe area now that would get refurbished or relocated?
If I can address that, Gary, the cafe section was an idea probably 3 years ago. Now that, we're in COVID and our budgets are much more reduced, maintaining that would be very expensive. I keep thinking about it, and I'll have to go back to the committee, but we could certainly take a second look at that.
Okay, it's a very nice plan. That's all, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. If there's no further comment, just wanted to again thank Tom and Sean. We're looking forward to the resolution later tonight. With that said, we can continue to move through our meeting. The next portion is the public hearing, which regards to 71 Hill Street LLC. It's a application of 71 Hill Street LLC requesting a special permit. And I'll let our Councilor Brian Egan explain this, and then we can make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Kat, there's going to be a series of people I anticipate
Okay.
that are going to want to put their hands up to speak on this public hearing. At least for the applicants first. For the people that are listening, we're gonna have the applicant. Again, it's if we were in person, it'd be much easier to try to explain. But on Zoom, I'll try to MC this a little bit. We're gonna have the applicants first. They'll present their application. The board will then have their questions. Kat will then go to a second round of public comment where people can make their comments, and then we'll call the applicants back up for rebuttal or reply. This is an application just for the edification of the board for a special permit. And the special permit is akin to almost a change of zone. But if it is approved tonight, it will be, the special permit is granted. It is going to be subject to any variance application before the Zoning Board of Appeals, the site plan approvals by the planning board, and Suffolk County Health Department for septic and all those other issues and concerns on regular site development. But because this is a special permit, the first stop is here. And there are a special permit. Also, the other question might be, why is it before the Board of Trustees as opposed to a special permit before the zoning board? The two requests that are requested by the applicant are for a component of workforce housing, and then also transient hotel or motel, both within the village business district where this property is. And both of those two special permits by code have to come to the Board of Trustees first. So that's why it's here. There are a series of criteria under 116.22 that the general standards that the applicant will have to address in detail, as well as 116.23 subsection 14 with regard to hotel, motel area variances and those kind of things that also have to be addressed. But the 116.22 general standards are specifically what the applicant has to present tonight in making its special permit use case. So again, Kat, if you could elevate the applicants and whoever's going to speak on their behalf, and then they'll make their presentation. The board will have their questions, and then we'll call the applicants, or we'll allow public comment from the general public, and then we'll call the applicant back up for any rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, I need the names. Nobody's raising their hand. So
Um,
In the chat.
I found one.
Justin Saravallo, Dee Dee, let me just, I think Dee Dee's going to be making the presentation and Justin will be there to, he may take some of the questions.
I have 3 hands up now, so this is good. They're all coming in. Oops.
Okay.
And promote. Okay, one more. Okay.
And Kat, just for space, maybe you could just take Tom back to applicant or whatever it's called, attendee, just for space on the screen.
You got it. All right. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we ready?
Yep, you can go ahead.
Oh, all right. Thank you. So thank you very much to the mayor, to the board, to any of my neighbors who are listening, to members of the community. I think we have Justin Sarvola, who's going to provide some slides, and then I have Jack Coogan, the architect, and we also have Brian Grogan from PW Grosser to answer any questions about sanitary. And thank you very much to the History Museum, to Sean and to Tom for liking tourists. I hope that people coming into the community love it as much as we all do, and that we can provide a better, updated, slightly larger product to welcome tourism and to help the stores and the restaurants and the cultural institutions in our village. So the applicant is actually 71 Hill LLC. It's requesting permission to convert what's now a 40-year-old commercial building into some luxury hotel suites and also workforce housing. And by redesigning the site plan and taking all of the automobiles that were originally planned during the 1960s for motel drive up to your room type of plan, I'm able to provide over an acre. It's about 55,000 square feet of a green space between the old Southampton Inn, which has 90 guest rooms, and the new part of the Southampton Inn, which will be somewhere between 41 and 47 suites. And I guess this is an iterative process as we go to planning, and we're going to go for the health department, and we'll go for architectural review board and come up with a number that works economically, brings in wonderful tourism, we hope, and also fits on the site in an appropriate way. Just a little bit of history. 71 Hill Street was originally constructed in 1986. Its adjacent Southampton Inn was built during the early 1970s, I think 1972. 71 Hill has about 20,000 square feet. There are 4 buildings. It's on a shy 2 acres. The prior ownership donated a roadway called Unnamed Road, or otherwise named as Unamid Road. And it is now in honor of the Veradian family, Veradian Way, that separates the Southampton Inn from the commercial buildings. The through road, though, Veradian Way, was never extended to Cooper's Farm subdivision as it had been planned. And at the moment, you'll see when we put the slides up, it's just a large amount of north-south asphalt for the overall site, combining the 3 properties. It's the 91 Hill, it's the Veradian Way, and it's the 71 Hill Street. Two of the buildings at 71 Hill Street have been pretty thoroughly renovated. You'll see some pictures. But the other two buildings, C and D, require major renovation. And also we need to renovate all of the parking lots, the roadways, the thoroughfares. And I believe, I hope you believe, that there's much more of a need right now for high-end hotel suites coupled with workforce housing, that they're more suitable and more needed uses for this village property. So we have 5 points in our request, and for Brian Egan, this is like a preliminary meeting. I know there's an awful lot that needs to be done environmentally and legally, many steps to take, but this is what the application is asking for. And I guess I may need a little bit more leading through when we go, where and how, but for right now, I think the first request was the abandonment of a portion of Radian Way, 271 Hill LLC, while maintaining the southern portion of the road in honor of the Varadian family. And a reason for doing this is to be able to, again, create this 55,000 square feet of green space rather than having redundant north-south roadways. Secondly, to create a public walking path that would connect Hill Street to the Cooper's Farm area. Third, to relocate the parking in front of the old Southampton Inn, which is buildings 2, 3, and 4, and create this large green park setting. We would be reducing the hard surface lot coverage from about 48% in aggregate to 41%, provide open space, offer a very much more, I think, elegant and environmentally friendly and a little bit more historic and contextual design for the largest hotel in our village. The expensive part of this is demolishing buildings C and D, and then building approximately 47 elegant 1 and some 2-bedroom hotel suites. They would go from 600 to 1,200 square feet each, or potentially 599.9 square feet up to 1,249 square feet for sanitary calculations. And then the last part, I would like to be able to convert portions of buildings E and F. Those are the 2 renovated buildings that now front on Hill Street, and they surround a lovely old brick patio that's in worse condition than at the History Museum with the bricks. It will be redone. But I think that would be a suitable use at this time if the board agrees. The advantages to the village, obviously, we're providing approximately 47 brand new year-round hotel suites, go for 4 to 5 star in quality to replace some of the units that were lost by the conversion of the village latch. Number 2, economically, as Tom had alluded to in the History Museum presentation, the new rooms are expected to provide in excess of $5 million annually in additional economic benefits, additional to what the Southampton Inn currently brings in, as a result of the increased tourism. And these numbers were taken from assumptions that were made by Discover Long Island and also the Suffolk County Planning Commission. Approximately $123,000 per key per year is what the Planning Commission has estimated. And in another slide, we have some reference points for those of you who might be interested. In addition, I'm sorry to say that the Southampton Inn has spent approximately $597,000 in various taxes, sales tax, occupancy taxes, real estate taxes, and hotel taxes. And so by having, it's fewer numbers of units, but they will be more expensive. So we're anticipating approximately $500,000 in additional sales and occupancy taxes that would come into the coffers as soon as this opens up. I would love to upgrade the facade and circulation for the Southampton Inn, which was built 50 years ago. I think a more elegant ambiance that would reflect the rich history and historic elegance of Southampton Village. Number 5, we would be reducing the overall impervious lot coverage. Circulation would be improved. Parking is going to be relocated from the center to around the eastern and northern peripheries of the property, creating the green area, as I said, and creating the new hotel suites, sorry. The sixth thing that I think the village has alluded to in the past, it would be lovely to have a more walkable town and village. If we could have a pathway open to the public that goes from Hill Street through to the library or to the Cooper's Farm area. That's certainly a welcomed part of this plan. And last, but definitely not least, I can build a minimum of 4 workforce housing units. And in further discussion, it's an iterative process with sanitary, with parking, and with available spaces. I can make more. I mean, I have buildings E and F that front on Hill Street. Again, they have their own little outside patio area, and I would love to work with the board to see what's feasible to carve out, but a minimum of 4 that have already been designed on the second level of building E. The next chart, just really quickly, I found it fascinating, but I already discussed it. The sales tax paid by the Southampton Inn last year, or 2019 and 20, was $388,286.28. This year was $381,674. We had an enormous number of nonprofit. Many people from Southampton Hospital stayed with us during the second and third quarter because of COVID, but that's still a lot, I think. The occupancy taxes were $117,000 in 2019. This past year, they came in at $115,689. The property taxes are between $92,000 and $96,000. So in total, the existing taxes that are now paid by the Southampton Inn and 71 Hill Street in aggregate were $597,000 prior year. This past year were $593,000, and we are projecting another $500,000 from the new suites because of what we think the rate and occupancy structure is going to be. And then I'd like to get to the fun visual part. Justin, if you can just put up the existing conditions. Briefly, this is what we've had for the last 50 years. The Southampton Inn on the bottom, facing west. You're coming into Veradian Way. There's a parking lot for the inn itself. And then when you come through to the western side, it's very pretty gardens and a pool area. There is a tennis court, and there are some events on the lawns. And then to the east, there are 3 buildings, again, totaling 20,000 square feet. I propose keeping the 2 buildings that are fronting on Hill Street and then taking out the northern of the 3, the largest of the 3 buildings. And let's go to the proposed site plan, please. So as you can see, that building CD is going to come out, and yes, it will be twice as long, but that's the suites. It's a single loaded corridor concept where the parking is on the eastern edge, backing the movie theater parking lot and the AT&T parking lot and I guess forest lands, undeveloped. And then all of the suites are going to be looking out over this acre of newly created lawns and green space. You will come into Veradian Way. There'll be a circle, and then we have approximately, I think it's 16 or 17 parking places for check-in, and also ADA for the ADA compatible and compliant rooms that we have at the inn in that first building. I would like to be able to build a new swimming pool so people who want to do laps don't interfere with the children who are playing, but again, it's not necessary. I just think it's wonderful to have. And as you can see, the circulation of the automobiles is now coming in round circle after check-in, and then all over the parking is going to the eastern end, which backs into commercial parking lot, and then along the northern end, which backs into some leaching fields. There's quite a bit of land mass between Cooper's Farm and the Southampton Inn. The next slide, I think, is just showing a picture of, Justin, do you have a picture of building? Yeah, so this is building E, and behind it, which we can't see from this, is building F. You see the little stairs going up into a pretty cobblestone courtyard. The entire second floor can be converted into workforce housing. And for building E, I could take some of the commercial suites as leases come up. We have two people that have just moved out. Actually, a Pilates studio married to the person, Pelletro Silver House. They just moved up to Maine, now retired. So those suites could certainly be adapted into workforce housing if this is something we want to be pursuing. And we put the naughty children in the clock tower. And then the last picture, I'm not sure I should be showing to you, but we're going to. I don't see it as a meadow, and the building itself, this rendering was, it doesn't have all of the building is very long. I think the way it's actually been designed on the site plan, you have units of 2 units, so it's no more than 40 feet wide that goes in, it comes out. It's looking like very much more smaller segments that are put together, a little bit like the Southampton Inn, but I think prettier. The Southampton Inn, I'm hoping, will be whitewashed, so we now have a sort of a white federal period kind of context. And you can see the extent of what we're trying to do with walking paths and pavers, taking out all of the asphalt. And this is what I'm hoping to do. I'd love whatever questions, comments, guidance you all have. Was that 5 minutes, Charlene? Did I do it?
It was a little bit longer, but it was very informative.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dee. Are there any other comments from anyone in this public hearing? If so,
Well,
you can raise your hand.
Okay, I
let's
do.
just,
I do
Mayor,
have a
I'm
right
sorry.
hand.
I'm sorry for a second before we go there. Is Dee, and again, I'm sorry doing this by Zoom. Dee, do you have anyone else who wants to speak on your behalf now, on behalf of the application?
I don't know. I'm so unfamiliar with this Zoom world.
Well, I mean, do you bring any lawyers or engineers or anyone else that needs to speak?
Yes, I have Linda, I have an attorney, I have an architect, and I have an engineer with me. I guess when you look at the site plan going back also, there may be questions about the sanitary. There is a sewer treatment plant that we're planning for the very northeast corner of the property. The new technology is that it's quite long and very narrow, and it's completely hidden. It backs into commercial spaces, so it's completely compliant. Can you see it, Brian, or everybody? So, I mean, I don't think they're not making comments at this time.
Okay.
Because
Does your lawyer want to address anybody? Does your lawyer want to address the application at all now?
Linda, do you have any?
Can you hear
I
me?
think this,
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here comes Linda Riley. Okay. Hello, Linda. Welcome.
Hi, I hadn't planned on speaking tonight necessarily. I'm here basically if there are any questions of a legal nature that come from the board or from the audience, I'm happy to pitch in. But I thought it was most important for Dee Dee to basically present in broad strokes what her vision is.
was somebody from the museum? I don't know. Tom, are you still with us? I'm not sure.
Tom Edmonds is in, yes.
I'm here.
Tom was going to speak during the public comment period.
Oh, okay.
He has
No, so I wanted to get this in front of everyone and then answer any questions, and everybody on the team is here to be able to respond to questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Super. Thanks, Dee Dee. So let's see if the Board of Trustees has any questions, and then I'll follow with some too.
Hi, Dee Dee, how are you?
Okay. Good. Who's that?
It's Mark Parrish. Thank you.
Hi, Mark.
How you doing? Happy New Year. I just have a couple things. I just want to just to what Brian said earlier, for the people who will be watching this later or just jumped on. This is basically a presentation to go ahead and get a special permit, which would allow you to then go forward and start to explore some of the ideas you have here. Is that correct, Brian? Just to, yes. Okay. And Dee Dee, when we talked about, give me 1 second, building E and F that are existing right now facing Hill Street, you're saying a minimum of 4 workforce housing. What do you think you how could you get 2 more? Could you get 3 more? Is there any maximum that you have idea when it comes to workforce housing you get, or that's still not determined based on, well, how you move forward?
So again, it's an iterative process. I know I've already designed 4 for the second floor of Building E, which is the old Merrill Lynch building. And prior to that, it had been a Chinese restaurant going back, oh my gosh,
That's right.
25 years. And so that's in all of the calculations. But for Building F, which is the very eastern one, the top of the picture, it's about 7,500 square feet, and there are 4 different commercial suites on each level. And most of them are currently rented, but as tenants move out, and there's some fluidity, they were all, I think, may have been conceived as potential apartments going back 40 years. I didn't have any records. We did a bit of a search. There's room in all of them to be able to put showers in and convert them without too much effort, except it doesn't comply with the zoning. We do have to make sure that we're in compliance with the Department of Health and have proper sanitation and septic. The electric is way overboard because commercial tenants have been there. We have all of the lines, the phones, and the cables that anyone would need. So to answer your question, and it's a brick building, so if the fire department is comfortable with the structure, I'm happy to work with whomever it is that's trying to spearhead the creation of workforce housing within the village. They're not big, but I mean, they're 600 square feet, and then they go up from there, 600 to about 1,000 square foot units.
So you would ultimately like to see, as possibly a tenant's moving out, to possibly convert that into more, because you have 4 now, and at some point, if that became available, you would be, open to that.
But I think this is what the village, I think it's what we need. I think it's what most people would like. And in terms of the streetscape, it's absolutely invisible. The buildings are there, they're lovely. There's nothing to do other than interior finishes if this is something we decide to proceed with.
Okay, thank you, Dee Dee.
Thank you, Mark.
I just have one question, Dee Dee. With the new hotel, the new building, would that be just rooms, or do you plan to have mixed use of business and office, a restaurant, or that's going to stay in the old building?
I don't want a restaurant. We're sending
Mixed use, that's all. Rooms or
no,
mixed-
this is planned as only suites, because in the Southampton Inn, there's a restaurant, we have a ballroom, we have outdoor spaces for functions. I'm sure we could put outdoor functions also within the new acre plus of green space. But there are also spaces for green spaces, the History Museum, the Southampton Art Center, Agawam Park. There are plenty of wonderful outdoor spaces. In this summer, as we did, we pivoted completely to picnics to keep people coming to the village and hopefully being able to be safe and feel comfortable and enjoy the outdoors. So I'm not planning any, I think I might put a new laundry, but this is not intended for anything other than the maximum number of suites. And these are larger, these are 600 square feet. So they have separate living rooms and kitchens. I'm hoping to put little fireplaces in, even if they're electric, environmentally okay. I'm hoping that we'll be able to put solar panels on the roof so that we have individually controlled units. So it will be hopefully not only COVID compliant, although God forbid we have this around when this is actually completed, but very private, very elegant, but small, exquisitely finished. And every one of these suites has either a balcony or a patio that's going to look out over the green space.
And just one other question. The old building, the existing building, I should say, your intention is to match the facade to the new building, so that
I think they will speak to one another. I've wanted for 22 years to paint the brick on the old, I shouldn't say that publicly. I would love to, we have the same color scheme as the Peter Marino new museum, the old Rogers Library. It's all gray and white. It's all been redone in the last couple of years. I would like to whitewash the brick there because it's not old brick. It's 50-year-old brick now, but it doesn't present as historic. So I would like to have two whites, but I think the new building is preliminarily conceived as more of the Southampton clapboard vernacular, and the hotel can be whitewashed. So they're going to be very different, just as the 71 Hill and 91 Hill right now are very different. They sort of go together, but they're not going to match unless someone wants them to, but I don't see that yet.
Thank you, Dee.
It's Joe. Just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for all your hard work with this, and also the BRC. You're a great asset to us. And also, I have no questions, but I just want to let my fellow board members know that the Village Planning Commission did opine on this, I believe, last year. So I believe the consensus was among that group that they were in favor of this, especially because of the possibility of having workforce housing. So our commission has opined and they were in favor. So that's all I have to say about that. And I think looks great, and I think it would be a great asset to the village to add green space instead of taking it away, which is unfortunately sometimes what has happened over the years. So again, thanks for your time, Dee, and good luck.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Dee Dee. Do any other board members have any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do. Hi, Dee Dee, how are you? Hope you are well. Thank you for the presentation. A couple questions on a couple of different things, not all of them directed at you, Dee Dee. I see that you're still having the road kind of be a emergency vehicle easement, just in case something were to happen in the back. So I'm just curious, and maybe Brian, you could help me out. Once a road is considered a public road, difficult to get rid of, how does that work in this instance, or is that still considered, the whole thing is still considered a road? It's just we're giving up the utilization for vehicles on it.
So it's a good question. Under village law, the villages have wide discretion to get rid of roads, provided that they're not used and they're like, as this road is, if they dead ended or do things like that. There is a mechanism for doing it under the village law. But the question is, I guess my first question, I don't know the answer as we sit here, whether the Viridian Way was actually dedicated as a public road. I mean, Gary Gillespie might know, but if it's a private road, it might be on a site plan, which should be different. That'd be then a site plan modification going forward that Dee Dee can make. But from a village perspective, from a public road perspective, I don't know if it was dedicated to the village.
Okay, so that's one thing we'll need to, and I'm sure it'll come out in the wash.
Yep.
The village owns the title to that road, though. So because that was done a while back. If the village owns the title, then we need to look at, what is the value, if there is value on that road, and how does that move back?
Yep.
I think because that's one of the things they're asking.
Yes, that would require, if the village is on title and it's a village road and meaning it's a public road, that would then require an abandonment proceeding under the village law, which would be a separate application.
Okay. So abandonment, and then I guess Dee Dee, quick on for the workforce housing, there are 4 units of workforce housing. What are the numbers that you would have, and would they be? I mean, how many people within all of that in those workforce using? Would it be for single use? So it'd be 4 people 4 single people? Could it be a family? What do you think of the makeup of that? Because you're also, I know, looking to approximately add 25 new jobs with the creation of this. Would that be workforce housing for those 25 jobs?
Not necessarily. I'm hoping that we're going to have workforce housing for people, for our firefighters, our teachers, some of our essential workers within the village. And my staff may fit that also, but this isn't meant to be proprietary housing for the Southampton Inn. As we discuss this going further, I mean, another thing we desperately need is seasonal workforce housing. And that can even be dormitory type of housing, but it has to be safe. It can't be in people's basements. We need to provide housing, period. So in terms of the 4 that I have, the footprint of the old Chinese restaurant, Merrill Lynch, Villeroy and Bosch building is about 3,000 square feet. And 2/3 of it is about 2,000 square feet on the second floor that has a bathroom in it. It's unused at the moment. I could make 2 apartments for families. I could make 4 apartments for couples. I could make 4 apartments for single people. I'm not planning large types of housing structures here. I see it more as being for 1 or for 2 people.
Okay.
In addition, I mean, so they're fully sprinklered commercial spaces. The conversion is easy enough to do. My family has worked with Jack Coogan, the architect, for a lot of sort of workforce type of housing. And we'd like to be sure the discipline of making them safe, structurally, fire-wise, access-wise is taken care of. But if there's an appetite to do it, if we need some family housing, then I can take 1,000 square foot space, for instance, in building F and convert that one into just 2 small bedrooms with 1 bathroom. I don't think I can make a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom space out of any of them.
Okay. And then, I mean, I think, bringing more people and allowing them to stay is great. From a revenue standpoint, I mean, I guess really, if we look at 71 LLC, they already pay their property tax of X on it. So it'll probably be reassessed, I would assume, when this does. So that will increase the taxes that the village gets, because from an occupancy and a sales, we get pittance on that, because that, I guess, goes to the county, and we get, the small dwellings off of it. But I know that a lot of the art centers will love it with the extra rooms, as well as a lot of other people. So, I mean, I think there are definitely things to be looked at, and we have to see. But I mean, I think the plan is at least a viable one.
I just want to, I didn't stress so much because I could hardly believe the numbers, but I mean, tourism is one of those businesses that has an enormous multiplier effect on the shops, on everything that the Business Revitalization Committee has been trying to assist. And then along came COVID, the dining, the cultural. I think 47 units, though, is not overwhelming, especially when the Village Latch was in excess of 60 units that had been available. And these are definitely going to be year round. I mean, again, I'm putting fireplaces in to sort of stress having tourism in the off, with quotes around it, in the winter time. There's nothing more beautiful than coming out in the winter and walking the beaches and having dinner and going to an exhibit, and hopefully we'll do it in person. So the calculation of the Southampton Inn at $123,000 per key of this multiplier effect, which is like $314 per day per room. I mean, I can see people doing that. The Southampton Inn contributed $11.16 million to the overall community. And it's not necessarily Southampton Village only. I mean, our guests do occasionally go to Sag Harbor. They may want to see Montauk when they're coming out for a 2-week stay. But I think it's important economically to foster, to encourage tourism of people who be respectful and enjoy it, but also spend money.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think lastly, I mean, I know Joe said that the planning commission, but I also think the planning commission was in charge of the master plan. And I know it goes back a long time, but you know, they were looking as at Viridian Way, as you said, as the, you know, cut through to Cooper's Farm and stuff like that. So I mean, that you know, again, I think that has to come up then, you know, if that would ever be looked at again in the future, if traffic on Nugent, you know, Jobs, all of that and stuff. So again, I think all of this needs to be looked at seriously and considered in all of the plans being done and go forward as it goes forward, even though it has to come to us first. I think, you know, I would think if we agree to do this, it's not necessarily an agreement that this is, you know, that, okay, go build, you have to go through everything else first. So.
I think it, in a way, to me, it almost starts with the Viridian because we absolutely have to have emergency access, but it doesn't have to be on the footprint of Viridian. The swimming pool does not have to be where the site plan shows it. I mean, as long as there is easy access for our emergency vehicles to be able to access the north end and also the western end, the hotel, obviously. Yep. The site is very elongated. And you also are trying to put these fancy 4 or 5 star units over something. Hopefully they can't, we don't want to have balconies and patios overlooking a road. So again, all kinds of different ways to handle it. But I think one of the keys, and the reason that the rendering was so long and narrow, was because it totally honored the Viridian setback. It tried to keep itself on 71 Hill. The site plan that we're now looking at encroaches a little bit on the edges, not the actual paved area for the work. It's not going to be paved, it's going to be pavers to be sure that the emergency access can get in. But I think it's part of having the acre plus of green space here. Legally, you know, among you and Brian and Linda, and I'm happy to opine how we make this functional for the village obviously has to work in all directions, but I think it's a road at the moment that has been used by Uber drivers for parking in the summer. And we also have a lot of skateboarders. Kids come in the middle of the night and they use it for skateboarding. It's not a savory space right now, to me.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a hand up. Should I bring him in?
Yes. Anybody, Didi, I guess that concludes your presentation?
Brian, do we need to open up the public hearing before we hear from others?
Yeah, I think the mayor, before Didi started, I thought that he had maybe opened it up.
I think Trustee Plow is correct, actually. I don't think we had a second or a vote on
No,
that.
I don't think it was ever even put forward. So, but
Yeah, I see Trustee Plow shaking his head. So let's make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion to open up the public hearing, 71 Hill Street LLC. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're open.
Okay, thanks. So Didi, if that concludes your presentation, we'll shift now to the public comment, and then we'll come back to you for any rebuttal.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm assuming Sean wants to say something.
Oh, yes. I don't really have a question regarding any of the technical aspects. That's just not what I do. Being a former television executive, from a marketing perspective and a service to the community, I've only known Didi for about a year. Rotary is now housed at the Southampton Inn for the past, I don't know, 6-7 months. She's been very helpful for Southampton Museum in terms of fundraising, more things that I didn't know in the past until I started meeting her and seeing what she did. Bringing more tourism in here is very important. You know, if we can't get our community to come out and spend money with us, my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for any board now, is you need to go outside. And we definitely have to have housing for that. Manhattan is a good place. I mean, I grew up there my entire life. I also owned multifamily real estate there. What she's proposing here, I think is, I'm not saying anything technically because that's just not my area, but it's very important to work with her. I see that through the museum, the Cultural Arts Center, bringing in folks here that would spend a weekend and take advantage of what we have. They could go to Guildhall, they could go to Bay Street, although it's probably not going to be built. They just took over a new facility. But we have an incredible cultural alley here. There are tie-ins that we can do with the hotel because that's all about tourism. And that's tourism from high net worth people who will visit our retail stores and see our restaurants. So from a marketing perspective only, I'd love for you to support her as best as you can within whatever the law might suggest, because I think she's a valued asset to our community, not only what she's proposing, but I think in terms of what she's contributed. And that's all I have to say. I just, like I said, I have only known Dee Dee about a year, less than a year, I think, but I value her opinion. And I think what she's come up with a very logical approach to something in the village that will help traffic within walking distance. And that's what it's all about. Anyway, thank you for permitting me to speak. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Kat, do we have any other hands raised?
Tom Edmonds raised his hand.
Hi, Sean and I seem to be tied at the hip tonight.
Yes.
I've known Dee Dee for 10 years, and I have to say that she has really shepherded me into understanding the village. When I first met her, she was pushing what Southampton means, how to brand it, and families, tradition. And a light bulb went off in my head thinking, oh my God, that's exactly what the Southampton History Museum should be about. So Dee Dee and I have been working together. I want to remind everybody that she has a constant contact list of 30,000 people that she promotes, this History Museum, the Southampton Art Center, and SCC. She works very hard with all of us, trying to get people into our organizations, and she also supports us financially. I don't know if everybody knows that, but she is a big promoter of our community. Trustee McLaughlin will know that she's a very strong worker on the Village Revitalization Committee. She attends all the meetings. Another benefit that Dee Dee has provided is free rooms for our performers, our writers, artists. If I want a museum consultant to come in to the History Museum to help us plan strategize for a future, she'll put the person up and then she'll give us a conference room. So I want to just throw in those reminders that not only is she bringing in tourism, but she supports financially and psychically, I guess, all the three big cultural groups in the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I wholeheartedly agree with those comments about Dee Dee. Dee Dee absolutely has been a very important person and a great asset to our village. So thank you for sharing that. With that said, do we have any other hand raises?
I don't see any, Mayor.
Okay. I have a few actually other additional questions for Dee Dee, and then would love to ask the board what their opinion is about whether we want to close this or keep it open and adjourn it to allow some more comments. But Dee Dee, any idea if you can remind us on the timeline? I know it's just the initial phase here, but just curious what you think the timeline might look like.
You're muted, Dee Dee.
Start my timeline was learning how the Zooms work. My timeline would be that we hold it open for comments for 30 days and then hopefully within the next 30 to 60 days, assuming the board likes this and we want to move forward with it. I know that I need environmental impact statements. I know that I'm going to need the planning board. if it's ready to go in February, let's say, or in early March, and I had 6 months of being able to go like the wind, which I can do. If I could start construction in November 1st of 2021 and not interfere with the summer season. And if that's impossible, then my timeline is I'm ready as soon as the board, the health department, the planning board, and all others are comfortable with the plan. So it's ready. What I don't want to do is start construction, on June 1st and have a big mess for our summer in Southampton. Is that clear? Did I answer that properly, Jesse?
That's clear. It was more of curiosity. Obviously, it's a big project, and just wanted to kind of know if you had a timeline more out of curiosity. But obviously, the design looks good. And then
it's been like the Energizer, but I've been pulling back the slingshot, and all it needs to do is to get a little bit of a let go, and it's ready to go. The financing will be ready to go. It's all in place. And it can be tweaked to be sure that it's comfortable for as many people as possible.
thank you. And also, just out of curiosity, because this actually came up separately another day, do you have any idea? Could you talk about, maybe you don't know this at this point, about the process of removing the asphalt and then disposing of it, and then installing the permeable paving or the green space? Just if you have any idea about that process, I'd love to know.
Yeah, it's expensive. I don't know technically. We could ask Jack. I think the best thing to do with it is just saying, I did it when I moved the swimming pool at the Southampton Inn, and you chop it all up. Big trucks do come, hopefully in the not summertime, to remove it. It's probably not the most environmental thing in the world. I bet we can do some research and figure out how to handle it in a good way. And then it's bringing in topsoil and starting again with wonderful impervious lot coverage with I think the pavers make nice walking paths, but all of those kinds of fun design details are things we can do as it moves forward. Oh, I'm getting a note here. Recycle my husband says we can recycle the blacktop. Good, okay.
All right, good. I was also curious about that. We had a situation here in the village where we wanted to remove some pavement and replace it with green material, and it is very expensive, and wanted to kind of hear if you had any insight on that. But in any case,
we'll share.
Thank you.
I have one quick point, Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
I opine on one thing that Trustee Pilata said about the road. I believe that first of all, I don't believe that the residents of Cooper's Farm nor First Neck would want to see the road go through for traffic reasons. And also, secondly, and more importantly, I believe the green space on the on the north side of the road, which we are looking at, is indeed of open space for the Cooper's Farm development. So I don't see. I see would be a bigger hassle to put the road through for the community, and also with the 30+ year deed open space from, I believe, the 80s that was deeded. So I think at the end of the day, it's kind of the road going through is a non-issue at this point, especially given the curvature of the road at that point at Cooper's Farm. I don't see it being a viable traffic solution. So I think, with that said, I think we should allow the 30-day comment period and see what the process takes us.
Thank you, Trustee McLaughlin.
And I think we lost him.
He may have frozen. Yes, he's frozen. He'll be back.
Yes, he will.
All right. In the meantime, we'd like to see if there's any additional public comment for the public hearing. If not, would love to hear from the board what their thoughts are. I'm happy to keep this open, allow some more residents to give their opinion and input. I think that's definitely important here. So I'm happy to maybe adjourn this to at least the next meeting in February, first meeting in February, but just want to get some board feedback on that.
Hi, Mayor. I think that GD's looking for 30, so let's give it 30. That gives us a month from now. So the meeting, Charlene, when would be
The meeting in February is the 11th.
okay, so we're right around there. Sure.
And we can keep it open an additional time if need be, if all of a sudden at that meeting in February, 30 people show up and we're still undecided. But I think it gives us a little more time to get the word out. Maybe the press could even mention something to kind of get some more input. But thank you very much, Dee Dee, for the presentation. It's always great to see you. And again, I echo what Sean and Tom had said. We really appreciate all your input and help to the village. You're the bedrock of our community. So we really wanted to thank you. Our entire board would like to thank you. And we're looking forward to getting some more public input. And thanks for bringing this to our attention tonight. And with that said, I'd
Thank
like
you for
to.
the opportunity.
It's
I'm
our
sorry.
pleasure. We're just going to make a motion to.
Mayor, can I just, excuse me, Mayor, before you go there, I just thought, there's a couple of items, Dee Dee, as we go through this. Superintendent Gillespie has confirmed that Veradian Way is a public road. So that would require an application to the village board to abandon that road. Obviously, the road is important, if not the keystone to the entire project. So let's make sure we get that done. I can speak with Linda, offline later, in the coming weeks about what that looks like on an application. So that's one. Two, from the board standpoint, again, it's just a special permit for the approval of the workforce housing aspect and then the hotel aspect. That's the special permit that's before us. Once that gets approved, which I think the mayor is going to make a motion to adjourn it to the February, hold the hearing open, adjourn it to the February date. If it gets approved, then you have the special permit, which will allow you to go forward with your application to the zoning board for site plan and setbacks and all, variances and setbacks and those kind of things. And then the planning board for overall site plan, parking calculations, et cetera. But I'm happy to have a offline conversation with you and your council about this after sometime in the coming near future.
Well, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Brian. So let's make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this to the Board of Trustees meeting on February 11th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
So we've got two communications to the board, but before we move into that section, Brian, quick question. We're in the public hearing section. Do you know when we adjourned our prior public hearing regarding the accessory structure too? Should that be here tonight or we have a later date?
Yeah, no, I think it was supposed to be on for tonight. I think it was at the last public hearing. Am I right, Charlene?
Yes.
Okay. So it technically was adjourned for tonight. You could ask if there was any other comment, or you can call for the vote on that because I think it was adjourned and kept open to tonight.
All right. So since it is already open, I don't know if anyone is here for this particular public hearing, but if there is anybody that would like to add a public comment on that, we are open for that. Otherwise, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to be able to close it.
Or Mayor, if you want to have it formally on the agenda that it was not on tonight, what you can do is you can close the public hearing today. You can set it on the agenda for the resolution work session, and you can resolve it for the vote at that meeting.
All right, let's do that. I think that's a good idea.
So
right.
I would recommend, if someone will adopt the motion, recommend a motion to close the public hearing relative to the accessory apartment proposed law.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing relative to the accessory structure proposed law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thanks, everyone. We have two communications to the board. They're in our packets, and we'll just quickly review them. I'll do them out of order because the second one is quicker. We've got a letter addressed to us regarding the Cooper's Beach, and they just wanted to thank Matt Weeks for doing a great job as our manager of Cooper's Beach, and then also commending Lauren and Bin managing the food concession. And then the initial communication to the board was from Mr. Raymond Sisesk, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, on Pulaski Street. And they asked for a few things. Number one, as an avid walker and cyclist, they asked the entire village road be reduced to 25 miles per hour. So he sees vehicles doing 40 to 50 miles per hour down Pulaski, Elm Street, David White's Lane. So just something to consider, especially Joe as the trustee liaison to the police department as well. And good to get this out here. He said number two, that private and commercial businesses be responsible for upkeep of the premise. Just go by CVS and I see pick up so much trash, need more trash cans too. Actually, that's a great point. Is actually something we brought up just the other day about who's responsible for that trash pickup. Fences, I'll be installing a 4-inch picket code fence in front of my property. I prefer 3, but I need 5-inch due to a major deer population. I saw dozens of 5 to 6 foot fences in the village. Did they get their variances? Also, great question. Something for the building department or ordinance, inspector to look at. Maybe a preview for what's to come. And number 4, designated beach that is dog and smoke free. Too many unleashed dogs roaming around the beaches. So all good thoughts. So thank you for that. We really appreciate those comments and food for thought. Maybe we can even take these to our next board meeting, which is a work session. So thank you to those residents for their communications.
Mayor, I can assist you on the first request. We can't lower the speed limit below 30 according to the New York State vehicle traffic law. Yes, people are going to point out that there are signs elsewhere that have lower speed limits. The vehicle traffic law says we can do that on certain spots, but the general speed limit has to stay at 30.
Okay. We'll get to the speeding part maybe at our work session. But again, thank those residents. Thank you, Brian. Charlene, do you want to move to discussion items? Just quickly, just let us know what's going on. We've had our swearing in ceremony.
Yes, due to the COVID pandemic, normally this would be the meeting where we would have our oath of office ceremony for the fire department and the ambulance corps. But due to our limitations on space and public meeting, both of those oaths were administered via Zoom meetings earlier this week. We had 2 separate Zoom meetings, one for the ambulance, one for the fire department. And for the ambulance, the newly installed officers were, for 2021, the chief was Shane Finicaro. First assistant chief was Kyle McGinnis. Second assistant chief, Robert Murphy. The treasurer is Donald Mahoney. And secretary is Daniel Berry. Fire department, chiefs and officers for 2021, newly installed police chief Alfred Callahan. First assistant chiefs, Emmanuel Manny Escobar and Polis Walker. There's also captains that were installed, Jeremy McMahon, Tara Collins, Edward West, Kenneth Rothwell, and Tim Hurley. First lieutenants were James Duryea, Mike Finicaro, Constantine Beladizes, Ken Lockhart, and Donna Bennett. Second lieutenants, Brian McLaughlin, Patrick Collins, Peter Feeney, Nicholas Aldridge, and Ted Latchik. If anyone can find our these ceremonies were actually posted on our YouTube channel. So if anybody would like to see them, they are recorded and posted there.
They're also, Charlene, they're also on the village web.
Village website as well. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Charlene. We'll let you also move forward with the next portion, our suggested resolutions. So we'll let you take it from here also.
Sure thing. Resolution number 1, resolved that the claims for the warrant dated January 14th, 2021, totaling $1,065,790.08, warrant A13 for the general fund, and $185,299.28, warrant H7 for the capital fund, be audited and approved. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Quick discussion, if that's okay.
Sure.
Couple of quick questions regarding some of the expenses. Maybe, would you mind, there was an expense for $36,045, 5445 Alliance System Integrators. Would you mind just sharing what that is for, and then a few other quick questions.
Sure. That was a purchase order that was approved back in July for a server that had crashed at the police department. That was an emergency purchase order. And that's just the check being paid for that install.
Okay, thank you. And then also,
I think this was the lightning strike, if I remember this
No,
correctly.
the lightning strike was actually the repeater. I think it was part of it. Yeah, the repeater is another $11,000 payment that happened on this warrant as well.
then we've got 2592 fundamental business services, $5,742. It's on the page 8.
That one I will have to have Kathy pull for me. Not sure particularly what that one is for, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Does any trustee know?
Are those fundamental business services?
Which one?
Fundamental business services. There's 2 of them. Okay. All right. Do you have any others, Mayor?
Then the Global Montello Group Corp, $4,835, $53.40.
What page is that on?
Sorry, page 9 of 24.
I'll have Kathy pull that one as
You
well.
know, it's funny, we actually used to read everything, well, about 5,000 and over, I think. Then we've got the integrated wireless technology, 8,556. Page 10.
That was for replacing cameras. There were several cameras that were damaged, and that actually was a backlog of some purchase orders that go back to 2019 that had gotten lost someplace in the pipeline, and we had to pay all of those on this warrant.
Joe, do you know what cameras those are?
I don't, I will say that I just got a message from the chief saying the fundamental business, that was the court collections in the courts. So in the courts.
So, and what are the cameras? Which cameras are we replacing?
I believe.
I believe that the large voucher for $4,647 was for two cameras. I think one might have been Agawam, and I think the other one was by the Chamber of Commerce, and then the rest of them were just repair items, the smaller invoices.
All right, as you know, I'm given that there's a budget shortfall, I'm trying to watch our expenditures. I know I didn't approve that PO. Does anyone know who did approve that PO?
I believe all of these were approved, Mayor. Many of them were old, and the purchase orders were approved months ago, and they've been kind of like, the invoices came in and they're all being processed at this point. But the purchase orders were all properly approved.
Do we know who signed that PO?
Which
for the cameras?
I'll have Kathy pull it out. Hold on one second.
I know there was some discussion about that one. I wanted to get some more information. It's possible my signature may be on it, but I wanted some more information prior to that one going through.
I think we need music for times like this.
Essentially, I was just looking for more information before we put that one through. if we've already incurred the expense, it is what it is, but the hope is
Charlene,
that
you're
we can
on
get a little more
mute, just so
research.
you know. Charlene, you're on mute too, if you're trying to speak while you're looking.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
That's really
Brian.
good. Okay, so integrated wireless, I stand corrected. This is the, this is for the fire department. It is, it's a warranty. It's 10, Miniature Phase 6 pagers, 10 repair warranties for 3 years, 10 engravings per 7372, and it was signed off for the fire department 10/14/20.
Okay, thank you.
Fundamental business.
Two. Fundamental business. We have Justice Court. Gross, it's fundamental business. Okay, so fundamental business, it's for processing for parking fees. It's the commissions for them.
All right.
To November and December.
And that was two invoices for 2 months.
All right, thank you. My apologies for the question. Just want to make sure we're just curious. I hadn't seen those, so thank you, Charlene.
Take this one. All right.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you so much. Just
Thank
let me
you.
know if you have any other questions.
Okay, thanks, Kath.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so did we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, resolve that the reading of the minutes for the public session December 10th, 2020 and special session of December 18th, 2020 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, resolved that the village administrator is authorized to appropriate $626,800 from the capital reserve to fund the change orders for the ambulance barn construction. We have a motion
Motion.
and a second.
Second.
Quick discussion. Andrew, I know you've done a really good job with our EMS, but I'm hoping just so you can explain this to us, and you can explain it to us pretty clearly, just so we can understand what this is.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Let me see what I can come up with, considering I've only been involved with them since the organizational meeting in October. But since then, when Charlene came in, she had done some work because we were trying to close out the books on it. I believe that we looked at and went back to the organization, had them look at all of the outstanding commitments and invoices that were still there. I believe also that we then went back and looked at the funding that was done and the change orders that were all done. I'm happy to say, and Charlene, I believe you can confirm for the public that all change orders were done properly.
Yes.
Within this.
Yes.
We also can confirm that back in 2018, long before anyone was on this board, and they went to raise the funding for it, that there was already a concern within Village Hall that the funding might not be enough. And so it turns out that individual was correct. And we now are having to put forward money out of capital reserves to finish and complete the project.
Yes.
Charlene, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch upon.
Sure. I have been, when Andrew and I first met, Trustee Plara and I first met with the construction management company, they had some outstanding invoices that had been sitting around and hadn't been paid. And when I took a look at, the budget lines for the capital budgets, they were, already overspent. So we had to go back and backtrack and figure out what happened. This bond, I believe if I'm correct, this project was funded by a bond that was on a public referendum. So usually when that happens and there's any overage in a project, you'd have to go back, and I believe Brian could confirm this. I think you have to go back to a public referendum to increase the size of the project. So we had some problems early on with the first design architect. He created a design that we were having, I guess the village decided to go in a different direction, or it didn't really fit the needs. So that kind of had to be scrapped. So the project at that point in time had some expenses that were not part and parcel of the project plan. And everybody kind of, the board there was discussion about it. The prior administrator, 2 administrators ago, was aware of it. He communicated that to the construction manager. The construction manager has impeccable records. They have duly authorized change orders through the whole process. The project itself, the construction project that you see now, the ambulance barns, over budget by about, the change orders amounted to about 125,000. What was never really provided for and funded in the budget, even though there were discussions among the board of trustees, board members, was that those initial costs, which total about $500,000 to get the project design, the design and prep part of the project, was never funded as well. So basically at this point in time, we've got some invoices here on the warrant to be paid tonight to some of those vendors. We've got a couple of more stragglers coming in. I had a meeting yesterday with SEC, who's been managing this project quite efficiently. And I got a list of everything that's coming down the pike. And all in all, with those, the initial costs and the design that had to be scrapped, plus the 120,000 or so in overage and change orders, this is the total project cost. So at this point in time, in order for me to pay the bills, we have to appropriate this money out of our reserves, fix the budgets, pay the bills, and then we can close this project out and put it to rest.
Thank you, Charlene.
Darlene, how far do these go back?
Oh, I think this goes back to 2014 or 15.
So some of these bills are 5 or 6 years old?
No, the bills themselves, I mean, the problem is that the budgets have never been corrected back then. So this has been going on since then. There was sufficient money in the project because of the fact that we haven't gotten to the end of the project. So we hadn't spent it all out. Now that we're at the end and we're paying those last straggling bills, that's when we, became in the red recently. So we need to.
But those bills are more recent that have come in.
These bills are recent, and we have one that we haven't received yet for the building construction, a final.
So Charlene, are we $600,000 over budget or 100 plus?
Well, the construction budget, the construction plan that you see now is $125,000 over budget. And that has authorized by the village administrators, two previous administrators had approved those change orders. But what was never funded in the budget was with the initial costs that were part and parcel of the plan of the, the planning and design phase. And especially that the big cost was the design that was actually scrapped and we went in a different direction.
Okay, so they approved these changes, but they never put the money aside for it.
Well, like I said, I guess they talked about it. There was a discussion in the minutes. I did find discussion in the minutes in the November 19 meeting that the project was running over budget to the tune of about $100,000. And that's the current project you see. It's the prior setup and engineer and design costs that were never really funded from the beginning.
Okay, but they never went back and did the numbers on this and kept up with it. No.
Right.
Okay.
So now we
On
have
a project that was actually, let's see, it was about 5 million. So the project actually went over 10%.
about that, yeah. And like I said, it went over because of we started out in one direction with a different design, and then that entire design was scrapped, and that was the lion's share of the overage.
Well, that's a big overage on on that project. Yeah.
It is, but at this point in time, the project's done. We have to pay our vendors. We have to close out the project and move on.
Well, I understand that, but the problem is that why is this 5 years old or goes back that far? That's just baffles me.
Are there any other comments from the board? Any discussion items from the board?
Okay, do we have a vote?
Oh, I just like to add a couple quick things.
Mhm.
While we're on this topic, I did just want to thank all of our entire EMS team, our EMTs, who have been really taking the lead here during this entire pandemic. We have an EMT who we're going to be hiring later tonight, making $25 an hour, which I've learned is actually pretty good for EMTs. And I know when we do our COVID testing, some of the EMTs, the MAs, some of these professionals are making $18 an hour, some $15 an hour. So obviously there's a need to obviously pay our healthcare professionals as well as possible. They're clearly not making enough, especially when there's a rising cost of living. And that contrasts very sharply with a project where this is $626,000 of taxpayer money is coming out of our capital reserve fund, and we're $125,000 over budget on a construction project. And so I both wanted to thank our EMTs and just, put this out there that I think everyone needs to get paid more and compensated better right now. And so it is what it is. The work's been done. The bills need to be paid. We're on the hook for it. But I think we need to be thinking as a board a little bit better. We're a new board. We have another opportunity to not make some of these same mistakes. And obviously this mistake was not made by this board. But I think that we need to think about what our priorities really are and really put money where people deserve it versus to be $125,000 over budget on a construction project. So I'm very happy that we have a good team here, but I think that should go without saying. But it just obviously needs to be said as far as this project here. So it's good that this is being put to rest. We're moving on, but we definitely need to do a great job moving forward. So that's all I'd like to say, and thanks everyone for their time on that one.
So do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Number 4, we will, Brian, I think we'll be moving to table this after. Should we table it? We read it first and then table, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right, resolve to approve that the application of 71 Hill LLC requesting a special permit for a transient hotel and workforce housing pursuant to section 116-5 of the Village Code for the property located at 71 and 91 Hill Street, Southampton, New York, Southampton tax map numbers as indicated. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Yep. Motion to table.
Motion to table, yes. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the sale of tax liens of all unpaid property taxes for the fiscal year 2020-2021 to be held at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, March 9th in the boardroom of Village Hall, 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York. Notice to this effect will be published in the Southampton Press. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 6, resolved that the Board of Trustees adopts the hazard mitigation plan prepared by Suffolk County in order to participate with the Suffolk County funded grant program. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Just as a note, this is we participate with Suffolk County in their hazard mitigation program. They prepare the plan for us. I distributed it to the board earlier yesterday, I think, or this morning. And it is rather voluminous, but most of the grant opportunities out there, especially for hazard mitigation and environmental conservation projects, require that we have either our own adopted plan or that we have a plan prepared for us, and having the participating in the county plan is the most efficient way for us to do that. So any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7, resolved that the Board of Trustees approve to cover the COVID-related expenditures incurred to date. Village administrator is authorized to amend the 2020-2021 budget by transferring $71,000 from contingency to the COVID expense counts per the attached budget entry number 305. And this was, we had gone back, Pat and I had gone back, and I had her go back and review since COVID in March, February and March, and pull out all the expenditures in preparation of submitting a FEMA reimbursement request. We actually then reclassified those expenses into dedicated accounts because they were actually charged to each of the departments. And to date, that is what the village has spent just on supplies and equipment and whatnot, $71,000. So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 8, resolved that the Board of Trustees agree to waive the application for a certificate of appropriateness and the public hearing fee related to the Rogers Mansion property owned by the village in the amount of $635. You have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Quick discussion. Sorry, guys. Brian, would you mind just quickly explaining just to the viewers what a certificate of appropriateness is and why one would need to get one, and what that process is to obtain one?
So it's required under our village code, the certificate. I'll get to the section, but in generally, it's because of the location of the buildings in our historic district. It's required under the code. Ironically, for the historical museum.
And what would happen if someone just did work without getting a certificate of appropriateness?
It would have to correct it, and it would be a violation.
Just clarifying that.
Yep.
That's all I've got. I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, Brian.
Nope, that's it. All applicants need to have that certificate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Resolved, number 9, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Richard Hill to be promoted and reclassified from Automotive Mechanic 1 to Automotive Mechanic 2 effective January 15th, 2021 to include a new salary of $52,823.38. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution number 10, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Accountant Julie Crudup to be hired effective January 29th, 2021, as an accountant trainee as a 90-day temporary employee at an hourly rate of $37. Julie is the accountant that's been working with us as an outside contractor, and she's going to be helping on the implementation of the Quest budget software over the next in preparation of the new budget and the capital budget coming up. So Civil Service approved her to come on as a 90-day temp, which would be at a lower salary than we'd be paying her as an outside consultant. So we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 11, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves EMT paramedic Erin Perrier to be hired effective January 15th, 2021 at an hourly rate of $25. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 12, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Jeffrey Ingram to be accepted into the Southampton Fire Department effective January 15th as a probationary member for 1 year. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I believe resolution number 13 is going to be tabled. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the function of code enforcement and,
Go ahead. I'm not going to table it though.
okay. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the function of code enforcement, its personnel, and any associated vehicles and equipment to be transferred from the police department to the building department effective January 19th, 2021. Do we have a motion to table? Do we have a motion to, do you have a motion?
I have a motion for the resolution.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion. Trustee Polaro.
Can I ask, when an email has just gone around from the person who requested the transfer saying he's not in favor of it anymore, why we're not tabling this or doing away with it? Also considering the individual involved was not informed of the change to his, and also if he were to move over and become a civil servant, that his hours would be reduced, which means a reduction in his salary. How does that benefit our employees?
Shirley, is anything that Trustee Polaro said accurate?
Well, I can tell you that the request came from the building department head. It was brought to my attention earlier this week that he thought it would be a more efficient way of operation. And he indicated that that he believes everybody would be on board with it. So he had the discussions, and I'm not privy to those discussions because he told me that he was, kind of brokering the situation. I then said to him if he wanted to email the board requesting, send me an email, and I would circulate it to the board and see if the board had any interest in this. And I was under the impression that it was discussed with all parties. So that is what I was made aware of. So I was not aware of the fact that the employee didn't know.
So to the board, I will give you a little bit history on this. I spoke to Joe today. I also spoke to Brian. I also spoke to the head of the building department. This email did go around. I don't have the date, probably within the last 2 weeks, suggesting that the code enforcement come back to Village Hall. I replied based on the way that it was laid out that I had no problem with it. We went along, there wasn't any discussion amongst us individually about it. And today I got some information that the police department was never contacted about this and that the employee did not know about it until the head of the building department had spoken to him. Joe and I spoke. Joe and I talked about the possible caveats of having a split service. Joe was then going to talk to you and the mayor and come up with a clear plan on that. I don't know if Joe did or not, but that's what the last thing we talked about. I had said tabling it would be a good thing. And that was also our village attorneys. He was in agreement with me when I spoke to him about it, because trying to clarify those duties that could be shared were very important, because the individual does cover both sides. More importantly, having an additional building inspector would solve this problem, because the additional building inspector, which is probably trying to be hired for a year now, could cover that facet also of going out and doing code, doing, every single phase that there is. So more importantly, I did get an email, Charlene, you distributed this at 4:22 from Chief Building Inspector saying that I left a message for Joe to let him know that I no longer support the move of Angel to my department. This is causing too many logistical issues, and frankly, I don't have the time to deal with more issues as we are swamped upstairs. So I think this does need to be tabled, because there's a lot of information that still needs to be clarified. And in all honesty, to sort of, for the employee and for the department to not really know about it, I'm a little bit disappointed in that.
So if I may add a few points there, Trustee Parrish. So I like yourself and the mayor, I do think that the move could be beneficial for code enforcement in the village. Obviously, this move to the police was made several years ago. I have spoken with Chief Cummings and some interested parties, including the building inspector today. I spoke with council today as well. I do think that in time we could hammer out a split agreement where this code enforcement officer could respond from Village Hall. I think obviously the services of funeral escorts and other traffic issues that the police would need him for are valid needs for the police. However, I do see the need to have Angel spend split his time. So I think prior to hiring a building inspector, since that will take some time to establish service, we could hammer out an agreement between the police and the building department as to splitting Angel's duties and making sure both parties can have a equitable outcome in terms of having his services. I also want to say, and as I expressed to you, Trustee Barrett, I think having his vehicle alone on Main Street could be a deterrent for pedestrians and motorists, because it looks similar to a police vehicle. So I do think having him working out of both offices, although it may be a bit cantankerous, could be beneficial. So I think we could discuss that. So I would also move to table this motion, although I do sympathize with both arguments, but I would agree with the mayor and Trustee Parrish on both points.
So then tabling would be your preference, and we should go ahead and get that done.
For me, yes, it would be preferable, yes.
Joe, that's good to know that you want to table this. I clearly don't want to table this. And the reason why we don't want to table this is several-fold. First, I think we all want to improve the quality of life here in the village. And I think everyone knows, but especially us in the mayor's office know that we get constant calls. We coming in every single day, and we spend a considerable amount of time every day answering quality of life phone calls. And all we want to do as public servants is to serve the residents of the village. And so we're getting 10 plus phone calls a day, maybe more. Miranda could attest to how many phone calls are coming in regarding quality of life. We really need easy access to an ordinance inspector. Obviously, that's the job of that position. Of course, we get tons of complaints regarding leaf blowers and other noise complaints, which is really a prime job for the ordinance inspector. There are even more during the summer, but we're still getting them on weekends here. We're still getting them on every day here when people start work too early or too late. And the job is really to make sure that our code is being enforced and that various ordinances are enacted. And so if we're a board that seriously considers quality of life issues, this is something that we need to do effective immediately. So Joe, I find it really disappointing, to be honest, that we want to table this further. Now, Mark, you said that initially you said you're fully in support of this and this would be really good for the village. So now we're changing to the fact that it's not good for the village, or we just need more time to think about this. But ultimately, we've been talking about this for a very long time. My next point is, yes, we do need an additional building inspector. I don't think that has anything to do with this position, but there's a lot of building going on. There's a lot of permits, large and small, that were being requested for, and the building department does need extra help. Now, I had a conversation the other day with the mayor of Sag Harbor. She's doing a really good job over there as well. And she's losing one of her building inspectors. It is very, very hard to find building inspectors, especially good ones. We're looking for one right now, but it is very, very hard. We actually had spoke to the mayor of Sag Harbor about maybe sharing one, some type of shared service, but there's a desperate need for an additional building inspector, which further highlights the sense of urgency that we need to have Angel be reporting directly to the building inspector's office. There is so many issues that we get when I speak to the chair of the ARB, when I speak to members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, they are constantly saying they need help. And so this is exactly what we need to do. I don't think we can even wait an extra 2 weeks anymore. I mean, there's so much work to be done. And I really would not like to delay this any further. Now, how an employee wouldn't know about this, I don't actually agree with that. But I'd also like to know why why all of a sudden there is a change in opinions. I hope this is not a political issue. I hope that no one is putting pressure on anybody to make certain decisions. But it is clear to me that this is in the best interest of the village. It is clear that this is in the best interest of every single resident that supports our quality of life issues. And I feel like if we were to table this even for 2 weeks or vote no on this resolution, I just think that we'd be doing our entire village a disservice, and many of the trustees who campaigned on quality of life would essentially be going against what they had initially campaigned on. So I have more to say, but I think I'll leave it at that. The other thing I would add actually is it's come to my attention that many of our villages across the East End and our business owners here in Southampton were actually hit, and Brian, stop me if I can't say this, but we're hit with ADA lawsuits where we have people saying that our businesses are not ADA compliant. And while those are the responsibilities of the individual business owners, it's really the responsibility of our.
Let's not make a record that might
Okay.
end up hurting these
You
plans.
you got it, Brian. But my point is that this is exactly why we need to do this.
Quick question, Mr. Mayor, if I may, please. The budget for the change, that's changing from police department to building department?
I'll let
It would.
Mr. Mayor, I'm asking you, is that changing from police department to building department?
Andrew, I can't answer that question well, but I would like our treasurer to answer.
Aren't these things these are things that hopefully should have been thought about with the change. And I'm just wondering if they have been. Also, if we are changing a budget to the building department, then what does that do for the building department's budget with regards to trying to hire a new building inspector, which, while we've been looking for a year, last year, a year ago, I know we had a very highly qualified individual that was never put forth for a vote. So again, I agree with you. I think quality of life is very important. I just want to make sure that we understand exactly what we are doing. It was put forward a little while ago. There was some email chatter going back and forth, but today when it became known, it kind of exploded. So I think that the best thing to do is to table this to try and understand what is going on, especially when a police officer, has the potentially to work for 8 hours a day. A civil servant may not be able to work for 8 hours a day, so that would be a reduction in salary for an individual. I just think that these are things that should be looked at before we make a decision, and I think tabling would be a very good idea.
And
So,
Mr. Mayor,
Andrew,
I'd just
can
like to
you
make a
clarify
point.
what happened this afternoon?
I would just like to make a
That
point.
this all blew up this afternoon. Can you clarify that, what that
Sure,
statement?
I think that there were, well, first of all, I don't believe that the police department was informed of the change until somebody saw it on the agenda. So,
But
that
you
leads me,
think that, or you know that for a fact?
that is the information that I am working on. If that is not the case,
Oh,
from
where did you get that information from?
when I was speaking with Joe, when I was speaking with Trustee McLaughlin.
Oh, okay.
So again, all I am saying is I am not opposed to making this move at some stage. Again, I think the biggest thing, and one of the things that I have always said, is rather than reshuffling, let's look at the whole organization and see how best we want to have things within Village Hall. It's something that I have asked for a very long time. We have started to make
Well,
some
isn't it true
changes.
that the building inspector, excuse me, that the ordinance inspector was always in the building department together with the fire marshal?
That is true.
That's the way it was. Is that not
That's the
true,
way-
Trustee McLaughlin?
That is the way it was. That's not the way it is currently. So again, I think that
Well, that's the change that we like to make
that is the
for a
change
more
that-
efficient operation.
And I don't have a problem. I think that what we
Ah.
need to do is look at it in its totality before we do this. I think that there are 3 trustees here who have said they would like it tabled. I mean, we can go to a vote and see if it passes.
I would just like
I'm
to add one thing, because, Mayor, you pointed out earlier during discussing about the ambulance and doing things right. And I want to just really look at it this way, because yes, I did in that email state that I had no problem with it. But a lot of the things have come up, and I had a very good conversation with Trustee McLaughlin today, and he agreed with me that we would like to look at the shared aspect of it and to get that done in writing, so we don't have a situation a couple of years from now where we have a conflict. And I think that's important. That's exactly what you want to do from this board. So that's the clarity that we need for this possible change.
Okay, I really thought we were on the same page, and I understood it that all parties involved knew. So I'm a little taken back by this. I know you're shaking your head, but you said on the email you were all for this. Mark.
And you are
The only
correct.
one-
I admitted that.
Well,
I
you never
admitted that
replied,
twice already.
Trustee
But
Flora.
my point is, I admitted that twice, that yes, I did say that I didn't have a
Mhm.
problem with it.
Yeah.
But pursuant to my conversation with our trustee, who is the liaison, a lot of different things popped up that were never in that email. So to get this done right, which is really what the essence of this board wants to do based on the mayor's comment, tabling it for 2 weeks is not going to put us in jeopardy of anything going wrong. It is a code enforcement. And I think it's important that we do that. And I do believe that, it is the right thing to do. So we can go to a vote, or we can table it.
Could we hold a special meeting just to do this within a week? So council can write up a agreement with the police and saying, we can have these shared services. So Angel's pay is not being cut, no one's being harmed. Council?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see if I can, again, I'm not a voting member. I'm just going to give you my opinion. And I did speak with the department heads today who placed calls to me with regard to concerns on both sides, both positive and negative, in favor of the proposal. And of course, that's why, it comes down to the mayor and the trustees who have the hot seat to actually have to make these decisions. But there was a positive reaction and a negative reaction to it. But as a lot of these decisions are hard to make. And I think what it comes down to is that the typical ordinance officer code enforcement function does belong in the building department. It almost is everywhere else uniformly, the building inspector, because those are quality of life issues, as the mayor talked about, that's generally in the building department. Historically, it's been there. Then there was a change, people putting different time frames on it, 10 years ago, when that position was moved over to the police department, and it's resided there since. And now that the idea proposed from this board was to move it back, that position back over to the building department. The issue from what I see from an administration standpoint is that that position of ordinance enforcement officer, which by the way is in our village code, it's section 3-6 through 3-9, talks about what those rules, roles, and duties are. However, the reality is that that officer has also received additional duties placed on him by the police department. And there's an important function that he has there as well. So I think that that's where the push-pull came from department heads. And Trustee McLaughlin, as I spoke to today, saw that there was that push-pull between the department heads. So I think that with some time and discussion with the department heads, we will be able to get to ironing out what their issues are about moving this this function or leaving it where it is, but with a perhaps a realignment of what those job duties are.
I would just like, could I just answer a few of the questions that were asked? I did, when this was presented to me by the senior building inspector, it was, he had brought it to me. It sounded like it made sense. Like I said, in prior employment municipalities where I have worked, code enforcement was always with the public safety and quality of, the quality of life, fire marshal, building department. And I was under the impression that everybody was aware of the move and was on board. Found out yesterday that he is an 8-hour employee and that the building department works a 6-hour day. I discussed at that point in time that we would check with civil service. We could either leave him as an 8-hour employee, go, work 2 extra hours at the police department, or if he wanted to scale back and work 6 hours and have a little bit of more free time and retain his hourly rate, we would work it out with the employee himself, depending upon what was best for him. But the budget itself the budget for his salary, benefits, and whatnot, the entire budget would be moved, that his budgeted amount would be moved back over to building, and then he'd be paid out of there. So it wouldn't have an impact on the future hiring of the building department. And we have been trying to hire a building inspector, and I believe it was last year or so that we did go through the process of canvassing and interviewing, and no one wanted the job because they will, I guess, thought the salary was too low. So we might have to take a look at that as well.
So can I say one thing here? So I think we have two options here. Either we go for a vote, which I think, or we table it, or we vote on it with the contingent that we have this agreement in place with the police department within a week. So we vote on it now with this agreement, or we just vote on it as is, or we table it till next meeting, or we have a special meeting for this topic. So that's my viewpoint. So Mayor, Gina, or
We
anyone.
can always call a special meeting. I think it's important to vote on things so the public knows where we stand on the issues. I can tell you for 14 months, there were times where I wanted to vote on things, but I never even had the opportunity to have a vote because there was no second sometimes. So in this situation, I at least like to have a vote. I would also like to add, we've been getting complaints about the window law. We passed a great law. It's already coming to fruition. We've got some amazing artwork right across the street on Main Street where the J. Crew was. We've got an amazing installation on Job's Lane by Alice Hope. But there's quite a few landlords who have not complied with this. And it's time to start nicely reminding them that they should come into compliance. And then at some point, if we have a landlord that doesn't want to comply, it would be time to enforce the law. This is exactly the job of the ordinance inspector. And it also shows, again, why there's a sense of urgency to move him into more of a quality of life component, to have him come into Village Hall. We don't want to deal with these complaints anymore. We want to serve our residents. And it's critical that we have this done now. Now, I do understand, Joe. I get it. I've been in your situation. There are certain departments that put a lot of pressure on you. I know where the pressure is coming from, but I think this is best for the village. And I will also add, if we're so concerned, I just want to call everyone out, I'm really sorry, but if we're so concerned about doing things right, our trustees need to look through their purchase orders and they need to know what they're signing before they sign off on them. Because we saw tonight early in this discussion, there was Justice Court, for example, no one knew what that was. Now, that's exactly the type of attention to detail we need. This goes hand in hand with our ability to want to enforce the law, to move the ordinance inspector into Village Hall so we can get a little more aggressive with our quality of life initiatives. We're working in addition on an app and a 311 type a line into our website that any resident could go take a picture on their phone. They could go submit it and show us exactly what the problem is, whether it's a pothole, whether it's a violation with a fence, whatever it is. We live in a village where quality of life is one of the most important aspects of this village. And so this is, again, highlights how critical this is. Now, I know the argument is you need more time. We're fine. If you want to vote no on it, we could always bring this on in the next meeting. But unfortunately, Joe, you're a bit newer to the board. For 14 months and more, I was hearing, oh, we just need more time. Well, we needed more time on certain appointments. We needed more time on budgetary software. We needed more time on additional hires. I've been hearing this for a very long time, and I think at least let's let the public know what this board is doing, and no problem if this is a 2 to 3 vote. It's not an issue.
This is not about time. This is about hammering out a plausible agreement between the two parties, so both parties can be satisfied in their various roles. That's what this is about. And I would hope that maybe could we vote on this on the contingent that we have that agreement with the police by next week, Brian? Or I mean, how much time would you need to have an agreement done?
You know,
Brian, just voting with a contingent on what? I mean, I don't think we could ever vote on something that we don't have.
We need to know exactly what we're voting on. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I would need to know. I'd want to know what the contingency is, because I think there could be a very big divide. We're seeing a very big divide in one of the things that you know, Brian, the mayor, and I are working on right now, and we're trying to close that gap. So I don't want to say that we're in tune with it, and yet we can't close that gap within a week, because that makes us look like we don't know what we're doing. So again, I think the idea is either to try and table this until we know exactly what we're voting on, or we go for a vote.
I think we can vote on it, and if it gets voted down, we could always put this back on the agenda whenever you guys are ready.
I think a special meeting even next week is early, as long as we can get the 2 department heads. There was a department head meeting yesterday. This was never raised in the department head meeting. So again, I think that, you know, we need to get the 2 department heads to sit down, to understand, to be able to work together, to hash out how this individual is going to go between the 2 departments and all of that. Even, you know, even Charlene said, there are things that are unknown right now. He could work 6 hours as civil servant, 2 hours extra for the police. We could keep it as an 8-hour civil servant. We don't know, you know, so there's a lot still to be figured out. Again, not opposed to making sure that the quality of life for our residents is a good thing. Let's just make sure we're doing it right within the confines of Village Hall.
I have no additional discussion.
So I will call for a vote on the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Abstain.
all opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Abstain.
1 abstain. Okay, the motion fails. We move to the supplemental resolution schedule. I believe we were going to, Brian, would we be able to go into exec session for a brief period of time before the supplemental?
Sure, we can go into executive session anytime. If you want,
Okay.
if the mayor wants to make a motion how to move into it, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Okay, I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
For purposes of litigation, Charlene?
Yes.
Litigation.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to go back into public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, supplemental public session agenda. Added resolutions. Resolution number 1. The Board of Trustees hereby approves the quotation for agreed upon procedures received from Sadie Levine Chiaco CPAs PC for additional audit work to be performed in an amount not to exceed $5,000. We have a motion.
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Historical Society to apply for a Robert D.L. Gardner Foundation grant in the maximum amount of $250,000 for site development at the Rogers Mansion and Historical Museum. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the resignation of Amy Kerwin from the Business Revitalization Committee effective January 15th, 2021. Do we have a motion? Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Ariel Silverstone as member of the Business Revitalization Committee effective January 15th, 2021 until ending term June 1st, 2021. All in, sorry, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Just quick question. Should that be June 30th or June 1st?
What are the terms for the
I thought it was July 1 to June
So it
30.
should be June 30th, so we should make an amendment on for this resolution. So do we have do I have a motion for the amendment to June 30th?
So
Motion.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of the amendment to the resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, on the amended resolution with the term expiring June 30th, 2021, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor of the resolution as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution number 5, that the Board of Trustees has been formally notified that the Ethics Board has unanimously accepted the resignation of Christian Pico as the chairman of the Ethics Board effective January 14th, 2021.
So moved.
Motion? Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 6, that the resolved that the Board of Trustees has been formally notified that the Ethics Board has unanimously approved the appointment of Stephen Pfeiffer as the chairman of the Ethics Board effective January 14th, 2021 for a period of 1 year.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will conclude our resolutions portion of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Charlene. Good job. Our next and final portion is the comments from board members. So, Trustee Russell, your.
So I'm happy to report that our new budgeting system, Questica, is up and running at Village Hall. And it'll be ready for a forthcoming budget process, which will be streamlined and with transparency. The Department of Public Works is finishing up the holiday Christmas cleanup and also working on Moses Lane Park. Bird houses that were made by the Boy Scouts have been put in place, and we have some walk-ons that have been added. So if you live on Fox Hollow or that area, you don't have to drive in there. You could actually walk on from a couple of different points. The park has been cleaned up, and I encourage everyone to go take a look to see what's happening there. The DPW is also working on a sign and a couple of other things, but please enjoy it. It has a wonderful walking trail in there. And stay well, everybody.
Thank you, Trustee Aresta, and thank you for your good work on the park and liaising with the DPW department. Next is Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Gina. Yes, the park looks great, and I hope that we all can enjoy it soon with the nice weather in the spring. Hopefully, it will be it's going to be a terrific asset to the village, and thanks for all involved in what they're doing. So my comments are hopefully very brief. First of all, I want to thank Amy personally. You know, she was a big part of the BRC from the beginning a couple years ago, and her contributions to the window art and so forth to fix the vacancies was a terrific addition, and thank you, and obviously to continued service and at the Guild Hall, and also obviously to thank Ariel for taking her place. Ariel is a local businesswoman, and she looks forward to, she's actually a new businesswoman. She hopes to bring her ideas and new perspectives to the ARB, to the BRC. I also wanted to mention the firemen. I couldn't be more proud to be their liaison, to work with them, and obviously thank you, Alfie, for stepping up and being chief, and obviously congratulations to Polis and all those who in the fireman district election. That, you know, I look forward to working with all of you guys going forward. I also wanted to give a personal shout out to probably the two newest property owners in the village, Daniel Candela and Gloria Dios, two good friends of mine who just purchased a property jointly. So I want to congratulate them for their purchase of two newest village property owners, and also thank you for all the presentations this evening, very helpful, and look forward to see how they turn out. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Trustee Parrish.
Yes, not much going on in the court system right now, as Brian knows, so not much to report from there. I will go ahead and say the park over at Moses Lane does look good, Gina, and the DPW, and commented to you yesterday. So please get a chance. People go over there, take a walk. It's a beautiful spot. Amy Kerwin, thank you. You were part of the original members of the BRC. I got to spend approximately about a year, working with you, and you really did a lot of work, and your contributions are still there. So thank you, and best of luck moving forward. To the new EMS and fire department heads, I want to say, congratulations and best of luck moving forward. I know you guys will do a great job in spite of all the things against us right now. And to the outgoing heads, Chief Epley and Chief Stevens, thank you so much for your commitment time to the village, and we do really appreciate all the work that you gave.
Thank you, Trustee Parrish. Trustee Polaro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to congratulate all of the new fire and EMS chiefs and heads. I also thank the outgoing ones for their service over the last year. I do look forward to working with the new EMS ones for the next while. And so we've got a meeting already scheduled for next week to begin that process. I would like to thank Amy Kerwin for her work at Southampton Arts Center. She has been integral there over the years, and I wish her all the best at her new career out in Guild Hall. I also want to take this time to thank Simone Levinson for her dedication and hard work over the last 10 plus years to the Southampton Arts Center. She has resigned from the board there, and it's a very sad day. She put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that area, and she leaves with the SAC really coming into its own and moving forward. But she did bring a lot, so I want to thank her for her dedication there. And I'm sure that she will find some other very adventurous and well thought out charitable endeavors for herself going in the future. So, and I think that wish her all the best. So thank you, Simone.
Thank you very much, Trustee Polaro. I will make it quick as well. First, just wanted to take a moment to recognize Christian Pico, who was stepping down as the Ethics Committee Chair. He dedicated a lot of time and very important committee in the village, and he was also very helpful in writing Chapter 7, the Ethics Code in our code book. And we are in really good hands as Christian stays on the board, but we also have a new chair who brings obviously the highest degree of ethics and knowledge to the committee. Also, again, wanted to extend a thank you to Amy Kerwin, who is moving to Guildhall. She is leaving the SAC, so she has an amazing opportunity over at Guildhall in East Hampton. So we're looking forward to seeing her there, and echo Trustee Polaro's thoughts on Simone Levinson, who basically helped build up the SAC to what it is today. And now the SAC is significantly more entrance and activities than even the parish museum when it was there. And then lastly, just wanted to very briefly address the vaccine distribution. A lot of residents have been calling and wanted to just basically extend to them the information that we have, and that is simply there are not enough vaccines. After speaking with medical professionals, we do believe that in a few weeks there will be more, but we've learned actually that Suffolk County only receives 3,000 vaccines per week for the entire county, which is a county of 1.477 million people. So putting that in perspective, it's like, I think 0.2% of the overall county that's getting vaccinated each week. And that's just the first single dose. But hopefully when additional brands of vaccines come online, like Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca, we'll be able to increase the production. So wanted to thank our village residents for their patience and let them know we're pushing for them. We were able to help a few village residents get a vaccine today. Clearly not enough, but a lot better than some other municipalities. So in any case, wanted to thank everyone for the meeting tonight. Thank you, Charlene, for your good work. And with that said, would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.